tonight on #Actors Life Season 2. Post-production coordinator Shirley Vernae Williams gets real about the cutting room floor. Entertainment attorney Eldonie Mason gives you 3 tips you should know before shopping your screenplay. And actress Stephanie Johnson gives a heart-wrenching performance in our LimeLight segment. Shirley Vernae Williams is a post-production coordinator who has overseen the final product of multiple projects, such as The Lachey's Bar for A&E, Black Ink Crew for VH1, Alone for the History Channel, and most recently, Intent to Destroy, which premiered at the 16th Annual Tribeca Film Festival. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our Perspective segment. I have here in the studio with me Miss Shirley Vernae Williams. She is a super producer. Yes, honey, I love it. Tell us a little bit about what you do as a producer.
Sure. So I'm a post-producer. I work in post-production. Post-production is after everything is shot, and the field is maybe after it wraps or during while it's wrapping. I mean, during while it's shooting. Media is coming in from field to post.
Yeah.
And me and my team, we're responsible for getting all of the media in our system, and making a project, a program, or a documentary or a show.
Okay.
Yeah,
so like pretty much piecing the puzzle pieces together, right?
Right.
Nice.
So it's like here's all the pieces to the puzzle, and me and my team, we actually come in and put together a whole piece.
So I know initially you started off in acting, you know, my acting buddy, SFT all day. But how did you get into producing?
Yeah. So when I graduated, I had such a hard time landing a role, so difficult, you know. Right. I mentioned this to you earlier, but just to be 100 and transparent, the roles that were available, you know, for African American women, they weren't looking for a black girl like me. Right. You know, they wanted, you know, Miss Mulatto with the beautiful curl. No, girl.
Right.
Like, no.
I had a real hard time when we finished, too, because, first things first, I was trying to find representation. Couldn't find anybody. It was like,
no.
It's like, what am I doing here? You know?
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. Your inner dialogue starts to become like, well, what's wrong with me? Right. What am I not doing? Like, am I as talented as I thought I was? Right. Am I really gifted? Right. So it really starts to tamper with your thinking, right? And how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your craft, right? Yeah, right. But I know that that's not the case, but that's stories and conversations that a lot of creatives have when things are not working or going as they would like them to go. So I just had such a hard time. I could not get a job, and my mama was like, "Girl, Sally Mae calling."
Right.
Girl, you still right. And I'm like, "Oh Lord Jesus, please give me a job."
Right.
But I just want to ask.
Right. Exactly.
So my friend Kristen Carter, who I love so much, she was a writer. And she was so much more established than I was in the business. She had a lot of connections. She knew a lot of people, but she was still very new in the business as well. And she had a friend, Joy Chen, who's I believe if Joy sees this and I didn't get your credit right, I'm sorry, Joy. Joy is the executive in charge for True Entertainment. And at like 6 o'clock in the morning, I remember this like it was like yesterday. I was in Connecticut. I don't know what I was doing in Connecticut. That's where I'm from. And I was laying in the bed, and I was so hungry, like for an opportunity. I was so hungry. I would sleep with my phone in my hand, like waiting for an opportunity to go through.
Right.
And I remember it had to be during the winter months because it was 6 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch dark outside, and my phone rang, and I had an email, and it was Joy. Kristen had forwarded my information on to Joy, and Joy's like, I'm doing this show on some Oprah show. I don't really remember the name of it. And she was like, I'm looking for a transcriber. You know, can you transcribe? And I'm like, I'm Googling, what's a transcriber? I'm like, oh, I could do this. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do it. She's like, how fast can you type? And I did some quick tests online. I was like, I can do these amount of words per minute. And she was like, great, can you start tomorrow? I was like, cool. So I got into True Entertainment as a transcriber, and it snowballed from there.
In production, there's a lot of pressure, especially in producing, because you're expected to do just that, produce. Right. How do you handle the pressure of that?
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure, and the pressure can come from so many different avenues. I could wake up tomorrow, and then the network would say, we've moved up our air dates. It's not going to air in 6 months. It's going to air in 6 weeks. That has happened to me before. It could be something went wrong in the field, and or FedEx lost your package, and you don't have your media. That has happened to me before.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Girl, when I say the pressure could be a loco, crazy executive producer who likes to stand over you and scream and shout. That has happened to me before.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yes. So, it's really important to be centered.
Right.
And to always know that no matter what, everything is going to be okay. Right. And we'll figure it out. You do have to also be, I feel like, to be successful at what you do, specifically in this business, because when you go into the door, I work in post. Post is for problems. That's where the problems occur.
You said that's for problems.
That's for problems.
Like, yes.
The P in post stands for problems.
Right. But like, no. We're going to say the problems.
Right.
For post.
Right. Oh, so many times you'll hear, we'll fix it in post. That's a very common
right.
Say,
yes.
And which is always a very bad idea. When people say that, I'm like, get them on the phone. We're not going to fix nothing in post. We're going to fix it where it needs to be fixed right now.
Right. But,
yeah. But, it's really important to come in to post into your workday, knowing that anything can happen. Right. Anything, and you can't get too wrapped up in the happenings. It's about, okay, this happened. How are we going to forward think and troubleshoot? Right. How are we going to fix it?
Are you hired directly with a production company, or like how does that work? Because I know it's a lot of freelance in the business. Just like with acting, it's like, okay, I booked this job, the job is over. Yeah. Now I have to find something else. Right. So does it work kind of like that, and on the production side too, or is it just like, once you're tied to a production company, it's like as they get the jobs?
It's a freelancer's world. You're an independent contractor. Right. So there are some staff positions where production companies do have people on staff, but usually the process works like this. The whoever at a production company pitches a network an idea. The network says yes. The network cuts the production company a check. The production company is responsible for producing the project. So the production company, whatever players they put in place to execute these tasks, the production company does the outreach. They hire the people, or they hire a person to do the hiring. But yeah, that's usually how it works. They contact you. They say, "Hey, we want you to do this project from this duration," and you say yes, and then you go on and you perform in that role for that amount of time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are like many compartments and components of like just the production side, and like so many positions on the production side, but now with networks, like they're cutting like budgets so much smaller, and like with the production team that has to produce a project, and everything has to come out of that budget, it cuts down, like, you know, as far as like, you know, staff and everything, like severely, because you know, if you hire so many people, it pulls a lot from the budget, so you know, everybody really can't eat, or you know, they might have to get a snack or something, you know, but they can't really you know, support themselves. And so I know it cuts down a lot in terms of like, you know, how many members you have on your team. And does that affect you also?
Oh my gosh, tremendously. Because what's happening, you know, currently, and especially if people aren't making wise decisions, the people at the top, if they're not making wise decisions with the resources that they have, the whole is going to suffer. So, I mean, it is what it is. Networks are not green-lighting content the way they were 5 years ago and 10 years ago. It is what it is. The budgets are becoming smaller and smaller, like, and it's because of, you know, how TV is transitioning and viewership is transitioning, and networks are trying to keep up.
They losing them advertising dollars because
it
like
all
a lot
comes
of
down to money. But yeah, the companies are suffering because, you know, with they're given less money, but expecting the same type of quality and content. And then you're expected to produce the same thing with half the amount of money. So no, you got to figure out, how do I cut corners? So you got one person doing two people's jobs, or you put a more inexperienced person in the seat because the experienced person is above the budget. You know, so all of the shortcuts, they never work. And we still haven't learned. We still taking shortcuts.
So unfortunately, I have to wrap up our conversation. This has definitely been a very lovely interview.
Yes, thank you.
But what words of encouragement do you have for artists out there, where they're like, you know, if they're on the acting side, or they're looking to produce, or just looking to get themselves out there?
Okay, well, we have to wrap, so I can't, I could go on for days. But what I will say, some things that I always tell myself is the only limits that you have are the limits that you create. Stay in action. Create. Go and do, and as you're out going and doing and in action, the answers will meet you, and they're there, and the opportunities are there. You just have to stay in action. And stay surrounded by people who are within the community and up to things, like partner with your friends, collaborate, go to events, network. You know, your network is your net worth.
Amen.
Yeah, and the opportunities that come to you will be because of the people that you know. So it's important to get to know people.
Get to know somebody.
Yes, but definitely the thing that's on my heart to say right now is just don't create limiting thoughts for yourself. You know, if you say you can't, you can't.
Right.
But if you say you can, you can. And trust that the opportunities are there.
Right. Right. That is so awesome. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming by and just giving your knowledge and your insight. Definitely deep conversation.
Yes.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Stay tuned. Yes, we're making all the actor mistakes. Everything you should not do in audition.
Oh, this is, in other words, this is easy. You get to do everything. Like you can be anybody when you're acting. Like you don't just have to pick one career, because you can be anything in acting. You know, you can be a musician, you can be a singer, you could be whatever. And it's just, I get to do all this stuff. Be all these like schizophrenic people. It's very cathartic for me because it keeps me out of mental hospitals.
Right.
I want to be an actor because I want to affect lives. I want to give people an experience. I want them to feel some type of emotional connection, to see something that they've never seen before. I sort of want to transform the way that they think, because I feel like art connects us, and through acting, you are able to just open somebody's mind, and by doing that, they can affect other people, they can change their life, they can help somebody else change their life, they could see a different point of view that they never saw before, and I think that is huge. That's huge.
I love getting into roles that aren't me. Like I've played cops, I've played mobster type, gangster type, mafia dudes. And when people meet me in person, they like, really? You know, but I've gotten those roles, and kind of like a Joe Pesci type thing going for me. But I love going into those roles, because sometimes I say to myself, oh, can I do this? Oh my God, can I really tap into this? But surprisingly, I'm able to do it, you know, and because I tend to think that I'm really good at playing myself, and then I find that I'm actually, I can actually target those roles that sometimes I find are really challenging, but once I put my mind to it, I can nail it. So.
Okay. Leo gets. Leo gets.
Right.
My favorite part of acting is when I get my feedback from either the audience or my teachers or the director, because I want to get better, and I love when people share their thoughts about my acting with me. And it really gives me this power to keep going.
But acting is just like, you can just be anybody who you want to be. So when people tell me, you know, go get a real job, whatever the case may be, I can be like, well, I was a doctor last week. I was a teacher the week before that. You know, so I did brain surgery when I was a doctor. What did you do? I flew a car. I was an X-Men. You know, it's like all these other things. It's like, what can you say? You sit in a desk and you punch numbers and you daydream about living a life that I live. You're just too afraid. And that's what's stopping a lot of people, is fear. You know, for me, I love it so much, I can't let fear stop me. But acting is something that just to mean so much. You have to be an artist to understand what it means.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Logistics with entertainment attorney Eldonie Mason. Hi. Today, we are discussing 3 things you should know before pitching your screenplay. So, first things first, all right, we have, let's say I have a screenplay, all right, everything, it's just the way I want it, and I think it's great, it's awesome. Now I want to pitch it to a network. What do I do?
Okay, so you're ready. You know, you have the script. This is your idea. Everything is done. The first thing you need to do is actually to get your screenplay registered. That's your first step.
Right. Okay. So, and then there are 2 ways to register. You can register with the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, or with the National Library of Congress. With those, which one do you feel is better, WGA or National Library of Congress?
Okay, so the National Library of Congress embodies the Copyright Office, which is where you actually do your registration. So, okay, this is the thing. Registering with WGA is good. It shows that you have ownership. It just gives you another little level of evidence to show that you actually wrote this screenplay, you own it. But to get the best protection to protect your rights and interests, you actually have to register with Library of Congress / the Copyright Office, because in order for you to get certain benefits, say if someone infringes your copyright, to get statutory damages, your copyright should be registered. You get more if it's registered before infringement, and then after infringement you get statutory damages. And also, in order to bring a suit, your copyright has to first be registered. So the long and short of it, you could do both. And if you have to pick one, the one you're going to pick is with the U.S. Copyright Office.
Okay, so let's say I finalized the script and I got it registered.
Okay.
So now what's my next step?
Okay, so now you're going to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Okay, I'm going to try to pitch this now. Who am I going to pitch it to? You should know, if you try to just roll up on a network and submit it blind, they're probably going to send it back. Because they have this, so a lot of them have policies, networks and studios, a lot of them will have policies to say that they don't take unsolicited materials. So your best bet's going to be, you're going to try to, if you have an insider, like if you know someone that knows someone, you know how that works. I know somebody who knows somebody
that knows somebody.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, but if you got a solid connection, like a serious connection, not the secretary of the, I don't know, 20 people removed in between, so you're sending your stuff and it's just kind of like floating around the studio. But if you have a solid connect, I'd say, reach out to that person, say, hey, I got this script. You think you could hook a person up? Hook a brother up, hook a sister up. Okay. Get my stuff in there.
So let's say I've pitched my screenplay. And the network turned it down. But I'm watching TV one day, I'm flipping through the channels, and I see a television show that is just like the script that I pitched to one of the networks that I pitched it to. So now what do I do?
This happens. It happens more than you think, because there's always, anytime there's some blockbuster, Avatar, anytime there is something, you're going to see some lawsuit come up with someone say, I gave my stuff to XYZ producer who then went over here, and now here's my stuff, I am suing you for copyright infringement. The thing you guys have to remember is that ideas themselves are not protected by copyright. So say in your screenplay, you had a particular kind of Romeo and Juliet kind of setting idea. Everybody knows that kind of thing. Two families feuding, and then they get into an argument. One person kills themselves. You guys know the Romeo and Juliet story. That's the idea. That story has been done in so many different ways. It has. I mean, from throwback to present, to with the flair, to with the this, to with the that. Think about like the Cinderella story too. Reworked how many times? It's the idea, the concept. But if you notice all those movies, even though at a point you're like, this is so much of a drag now. How many times could we do the same idea? The expression of the idea is different. They're not copying exactly the look, the feel, the layout of the movie. They're just taking the concept and they're reworking that concept. Because to sue someone on an infringement, like you can sue to steal your idea. So the way how that would work is that for copyright infringement, it would be it has to be the expression, okay? Because the way it is, it's that to prove copyright infringement, you have to show access and substantial similarity. So if you're saying that when you were watching TV, what you saw was exactly like exactly, you just totally copied it verbatim. They didn't even try to change anybody. It's like, enter here and touch your face. It's like all the cues, everything's the exact same, right? At that point, then you have the elements of copyright infringement, right? Because it's not substantially similar, it's the exact same script. And they had access, you were there pitching it, so you know. right? So in that instance, you could prove the two elements of copyright infringement. So what you do, you gotta go lawyer up, right? You show your lawyer you have evidence that, hey, I was here such and such a date, which is always good to keep tight timeline records, any emails. So you could prove, hey, they had access. I was there such and such a date. This is my script. I pitched to this person, that person, and that person turned out to be the producer on the show, right? So you have to show all that. So you lawyer up.
NDA, non-disclosure agreements. So would it be best to maybe present an NDA if you're pitching, or like no? Or is that just considered unprofessional?
No, I mean, this is the thing, right? It's a dance. You could try to give one. They may or may not sign it. But sure enough, they're going to give you a submission release to say you're releasing for the instance of where if we use elements of your ideas, it shows up, you're not going to sue us.
Yeah.
So there's always these war and interests, right? You're trying to give an NDA to cover your butt and protect your idea because that's the contract that will protect your idea. Because copyright won't protect the idea. So the NDA will, because that's a contract. And studio/producer is like, well, here's a submission release, which they're trying to protect their butt for, for getting sued for taking your idea, which wouldn't be, as I say, copyright infringement, but will be contractual.
So on the flip side, let's say we pitch this idea and it gets picked up. So now what happens?
Okay, see that, and that's such a loaded question, and there's so many things going on with that. Because then I've had people, like when I was pitching this particular screenplay, they just want it sold. They didn't care to have any attachment. It's just like, let's either sell this, option it, something. I don't even want to be involved with it. Just give me some money and keep it moving. Right? So it depends on, as a screenwriter, like what involvement do you want? And if is it a TV show, so you're trying to like stay on as a writer? Is it a script on spec, and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna sell this? Is this a script you're just trying to sell? You're just trying to part with this, idea for a movie, for a show, and the script itself, you just want to part with it and sell it to them, and then they could go off and do their thing. You're going TV,
So
you're going
that's
to
a
film.
good point too. Like you should have an idea in terms of what you want to do.
Exactly. What do you want? If you're doing a feature, if your screenplay is a feature, do you want to stay on? Or do you just want to be like, oh, you could option in it, make the thing, I collect my money, I'm good. I get my credit, we're all good. I don't even have to be involved in the rewrites or whatever. I just want I get a based on blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be involved. So you got to walk in that room
knowing what you want. Yeah.
Thinking like, if this thing does happen, this is what I want.
Okay, so the three main things you should
know
before pitching your screenplay is number one, get it registered.
There you go.
Number two, if you want
when you're pitching, have some insider info. Have an inside person. Don't send it blind.
Yeah,
so that's your number
never
two.
send it blind.
Never send it blind.
Right, and then number three, know what you want before you go in there.
Yep. And remember, we're going to mention that know what you want, and then if you see your stuff on TV, lawyer up and start sending letters. Yay.
So that wraps our show for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Catch us next time with more logistics. Thank you so much, Eldonie, for being here and dropping these awesome, shining, bright gems, dimes, And thank you guys for tuning in.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.
Later.
He said it would be easy. Just go quietly and have it done. Nobody would know. Besides, it was a simple procedure. And it was my responsibility to handle things like this. And I should have been more careful in the first place. I begged him, please, don't make me go alone. He said he'd call later after it was done. So I went, alone and afraid, not knowing what I was doing or why, just that this had to be done. I mean, it's the right decision, right? I mean, look, I'm young and I got my whole life ahead of me. I couldn't let this one mistake ruin my life. There was another girl there. Her name was Jenny. She began talking to me. She was chewing gum and chatting nonchalantly. She said it was her third time and it really wasn't a big deal anymore. But she had this cold, dark look in her eyes. I just figured maybe that's the type of person she was. They called my name next and I went in. It didn't take long, really, just signed some papers, laid down on this cold, hard table. And before I knew it, it was over, just like they said. Done quickly and efficiently, just whooshing me out the way and ushering in the next person. That was days ago. I haven't been home since. Did he call? I don't know. Would I have answered him? I can't say, really. But there's one thing that nobody mentioned. Nobody mentioned the pain. Not a physical pain, but this pain that deep down in your soul you know will never go away. That's why I haven't been home. I know my family will see it on me. I won't be able to hide this from them. That's why Jenny looked like this. It makes you cold and hollow. Why doesn't anybody tell you about this part? Where part of you just feels like you want to die. Where you question yourself over and over and over again, wondering, did I do the right thing? Did I make the right decision? Was there another choice? Will God ever forgive me? Will I be able to forgive myself? I think I would have named her Destiny. I'm sorry, I can't.
On the next, #Actors Life. It's the Director's Edition with director DC Epic Coles as he discusses life behind the camera. Directors Melvin James, Mariska Phillips, and Tony Clomax open up about what directors look for in talent, and another captivating LimeLight performance you won't forget. Don't miss it.